What is up, everyone? It has been a little bit since I uploaded a video, as I was on a little trip to Seattle and the Go Fest there. But I have returned with something special to show you. Go Fest Seattle's exclusive Ultra Beast Buzzwole. And this nice new shirt. What do we think, eh? So yeah, anyway, Buzzwole is a bug and fighting typing with a really nice moveset. It basically got the best moveset it could have gotten. Counter, lunge, and superpower. And then it also has access to Poison Jab as another fast move, and Power Up Punch and Fell Stinger as two more charge moves, but generally you don't really want to use these. Buzzwole is able to beat most Pokemon weak to fighting, like most Dark types, Ice types, Steel types, Rock types, and normal types. Besides that, it beats most of the grasses except for Trevenant, but that includes Venusaur, which is quite nice to pick up as a fighting type. Then it also beats Swampert, Whiscash, and the other Mud Boys quite nicely, and even gets close versus most Psychic types and Sableye, which is really unique for a fighting type. It also has some huge weaknesses though. Fairy types like Azumarill and Alola Ninetales, Flyers like Talonflame, Altaria, and Skarmory, Ghosts like Trevenant and Cofagrigus, and then Nidoqueen is a huge problem, which ultimately makes it quite difficult to build a strong squad around Buzzwole. I mean, name something that can beat Nidoqueen, Azumarill, Altaria, and the Cofagrigus kind of convincingly. There's nothing. There's no great partner for Buzzwole, I feel. Except for maybe one Pokemon I think is pretty good, and that's Cofagrigus, which is what I will be pairing it with in this first team. I'll be showcasing two teams today, but this first one is actually the one I prefer the most. It's Cofagrigus, Drapion, and Buzzwole. It's definitely not a perfect team. Something like a Mendebus could already destroy this Cofagrigus Buzzwole core, but I think it's the strongest core I've found with Buzzwole, because Cofagrigus is able to deal with most fairies, pretty okay-ish. Most flyers, pretty okay-ish. Medicham, which Buzzwole also struggles against. Yeah, it does alright versus most of Buzzwole's answer. And I'm running Drapion in the middle, since it also does alright versus most of Buzzwole's answer, and gives that little bit of extra fairy coverage, which I definitely need in this team. Anyway, enough talking, let's just get into these battles. These were done against members of my Discord, so thank you very much for helping me out. Let's go. First game, we lead into a Trevenant. This is pretty okay for Cofagrigus, which is not great. Trevenant can definitely win this if they bait with the Seed Bomb, but I'm gonna shield anyway, and it's actually a Shadow Ball, so great shield on my end. Gonna go for the Dark Pulse here. Slightly less energy than Shadow Ball, but would kill anyway, so they have to shield it up. In comes Walrein, I have a pretty slow switch. Going to the Buzzwole, look at this thing go. Look at his huge biceps going at it. Gonna let this one move go, and here you see that Buzzwole is pretty squishy. That actually did a ton of damage. I'm just gonna farm all the way down. I kind of just want to hit a lunge on whatever is gonna come in next, which will be the Trevenant, right? Yeah, go straight for a lunge, and look at how much damage this does. This is pretty respectable. Almost as 50%. I'm able to farm it down now. In comes a Registeel. Registeel won't be able to lock on me down before I get to a move. I assume they're gonna shield a potential superpower, so I go for the lunge, and I do shield it up, and at this point, this is basically over, since I can just Shadow Ball this Registeel and put it in a range where a Crunch would knock out. This game, you really saw the power of Buzzwole, honestly. Being able to counter something down, then lunge the next Pokemon is pretty huge. Bringing in the Drapion now, crunching it, yes, and that should be a game over right here. Yes. Next match, we see a Registeel lead into my Cofagrigus. Not too bad though, I would really prefer to have Buzzwole on this, so I might try to switch out my Cofagrigus at some point, but I'd have to bring this Reggie into a range where I can crunch it first. So I'm thinking about just letting one Zap Cannon go down, or go through, then switching out, but they actually switch out before I can into the Sableye. This is alright. This is kind of where I want to see it, though. Drapion still isn't the best counter for Sableye. Since I return a ton of damage, I can survive it though, so I actually let it go, and it ends up being a foul play bait, so that's a nice no shield. Gonna go for another crunch here before they can get to the next foul play, and they let it go. It's really good for me. Here comes a Registeel now. Hopefully I can get to the crunch before they get to the move, and I can. Unfortunately, this definitely won't knock out though, but this will bring him into a range where I can probably Shadow Claw it down. Go for a move here. I'm gonna let it go. I was really thinking about shielding this, expecting maybe a Trevenant in the back, but I'm just hoping it's not that. It ends up being something worse though. Altaria, which is a huge counter for Buzzwole. At least I thought, because this is actually gonna be quite close. I already hit one lunge, debuffing Altaria's attack early, and now I just gotta shield up these moves. My Gamefreak is way too low to carry his game by himself, so I definitely gotta shield up my Buzzwole a couple times. Gonna go for another lunge here, which gets shielded. Wise decision by my opponent, because they would have definitely gotten farmed down at that point. Gonna put up another shield, and grab another shield from this Altaria with the superpower. Look at that, Buzzwole being able to grab both shields from Altaria, bring in the Gamefreak, get to the... barely don't get to the Dark Pulse. But can I now farm this down with Buzzwole? I cannot. My opponent even BMs and brings in the Registeel to block on me down. GG, but very impressive from Buzzwole to get that close to killing Altaria. Alright, next up we see an Alolan Marowak lead, and they stay in. They stay in, which is fine with me, because Buzzwole definitely doesn't want to see Alolan Marowak. Yeah, I'm just gonna shield up this move. If they Bone Cut up here, I'm in trouble, because then they get to the Shadow Bone before me. But since I Shadow Boned, I am super fine. I'm just gonna Dark Pulse this. If they Bone Club, I might have actually tried to catch the Shadow Bone on Drapion, but that wasn't necessary. At this point, I'll just shield up the next move and fully farm down. It seems pretty clear that they might be quite weak to Gamefreak in the back. In comes the Azumarill now, which again is quite fine, since Buzzwole also doesn't want to see this. And yeah, I think this is when I start to realize that Buzzwole might not be amazing in the meta, since Alolan Marowak Azumarill core is not rare, and it just double counters Buzzwole. And there's a ton of cores that just double counter Buzzwole. Metacham, another counter to Buzzwole. Like Metacham Azumarill is kind of common. They just double counter Buzzwole. As you can see, Psych hits hard. Actually, if I would have switched a little faster there, I would have outpaced the Metacham to a lunge, which would have been quite nice. But I was quite slow on the switch, which, well, makes it a little harder. No drop either, which means that the next crunch won't knock out. I'm going to go for Sludge Bomb. But yes, there's a lot of teams out there that just double, triple counter Buzzwole, which is kind of problematic. But if there aren't any counters to Buzzwole, it can really go off, as we saw earlier. So I feel like it's kind of a hit and miss Pokemon. Though, maybe usually hit. Because even if you're up against a counter, you can lunge it, right? Which is quite nice. Anyway, up in the next battle, we see a Talonflame lead against Gamefreak. This is, well, this is where I want to see it, I guess. It's just not great, because if they double shield her and power themselves up flame charges, I don't really know how I can kill this thing. So yeah, I'm just gonna no shoot the first one. If they want a Brave Bird here, that's super fine with me, because then I just bring in Drape and I have to give up switch advantage or let their Talonflame go. But they flame charge, which means I could get to another Shadow Ball here if I shoot up this flame charge. The only problem is they will get another Incinerate in if I don't switch into Drape right now. So I'm going to give up Switch here. They're basically in superpower range anyway, so if they want to dip out, that's fine with me. Unfortunately, they win CMP, but that's fine. I'm going to let this go. We're going to crunch this Talonflame, and then I'm just going to hope I can sweep with Buzz. Hopefully it's like a Swampert in the back. Vigoroth, it's a Metacham, which definitely isn't great. I don't even get to my crunch here. Gonna bring in the Buzzwole right now. I could have brought in Kovagrigus, but Kovagrigus would have been countered down as well, which isn't great. Just gonna keep my Kovagrigus as a potential sack. I'm gonna call this Ice Punch bait. Does nothing against Buzzwole. Gonna go for the lunge. 2 lunges basically knocks out Medicham at this point with counters, so that's pretty good. Just gonna shield up this move, and then I can overfarm a bit and throw another lunge. Maybe I should try to catch a move instead here. I wasn't too sure about the count at that point anymore though, so I just threw. Take out the Medicham and hope there's something in the back Buzzwole can take out, and it's a Rock Wynid, which is actually a Pokemon Buzzwole beats, since you are taking resisted from those back bites, and Ball Beam doesn't do that much. Generally you do win this, but not at the health we are at, so we are gonna end up taking the L here. Next game we see an Alolan Ninetales lead, which is exactly where I want to see it. In comes the Sableye. I bring in the Drapion. Now, this is not amazing, since I need 2 crunches to take out this Sableye, and if they bait with Foul Plays, they can return me, which wouldn't be great. Also, that Alolan Ninetales is still problematic, since Alolan Ninetales does beat Kovagrigus if they use 2 shields. So yeah, I might still get that Alolan Ninetales aligned to my Buzzwole, which isn't amazing. I know this team though. This is a pretty common team. A9, Sableye, Diggersby is a squad I've seen a ton of times before. It's really annoying. I also make a mistake here by not throwing my crunch before the foul play, but that's the point. It's an extremely annoying team. But my team should do okay versus it, since I do have Buzzwole for Diggersby and then Kofa for Ninetales. But again, Kofa versus Ninetales is not amazing, especially now that I am a shield down. They are gonna bring in the Diggersby right now. Luckily, I do have a nice amount of energy on my Drapion, so I can hit a crunch here. But again, if I hit my crunch 1 poison sting earlier versus Sableye, I would have had enough health here to where they wouldn't have been able to farm me down, which would have been quite huge. Do bring this Diggersby quite low though. And their defense is dropped, which means these counters will do more damage. They start throwing these fire punches though, and as you can see, these do a significant chunk to my Buzzwole. I expect them to switch to Alolan Ninetales after this fire punch, so I switch to my Kovagrigus in order to not get hit by any charms. And at this point, I really gotta hope that I can get to 2 Shadow Balls. Fire off 1 here. I should be 2 Shadow Claws away from the next Shadow Ball. So if I can survive 1 more charm, I should be able to get there. And I do. Does this knock out the Alolan Ninetales? It doesn't, but if I can kill this in 1 counter, I should be able to take the game. But they barely survive, and they charm down my Buzzwole. Extremely close match right there. Next team I want to showcase is this pretty basic team of Buzzwole, Walrein, Registeel. This doesn't deserve much of an intro. We're just going to head right into it, leading the Buzzwole into Swampert. This is pretty good. Look at these counters add up, and I resist the Mudshots. I could technically take this Hydro and get to the lunge to beat this Swampert, but I want to keep my Buzzwole kind of healthy because I assume they'll be weak to Buzzwole in the back. In comes Trevenant, so it's not weak to Buzzwole in the back. But fine, I can lunge this, bring in my Walrein, and get... I think I get to the Icicle Spear before the next Seed Bomb. Get to the Icicle Spear here. I was really hoping this would knock him out, but it just barely doesn't, but I still managed to Powder Snow it down before it gets to the next move. In comes a Deoxys now. This is not looking too great. This is one of the core breakers for this squad, for sure. Just like Trevenant would be a core breaker, but luckily I faced the Trevenant onto my Walrein and not onto my Buzzwole or Registeel. But yeah, Deoxys also not amazing. Actually though, Buzzwole beats Deoxys in the 2 shield if it runs Psycho Boost. And if it doesn't run Psycho Boost, so if it runs Rock Slide Thunderbolt, you can actually beat it in the 1s as well. So yeah, Deoxys versus Buzzwole is definitely not horrible for Buzzwole. I undercharge my Focus Blast there, hoping to get some more farm on my boss Buzzwole, which I do manage to do. In comes the Deoxys now. They go for the Thunderbolt, not wanting to debuff themselves. It's fine with me. Took a lot of energy, so now I'll be able to get to the lunge before their next move. They will need to throw a Psycho Boost to knock me out though, which is what they're gonna do right here. Now their attack is triple, the buff, which means my Registeel should take no damage from these counters, and as you can see, it really doesn't do much. In comes a Thunderbolt right now, but again, their attack triple debuffed. It doesn't do anything, and now I'll be able to finish off this game with a Focus Blast on the Deoxys defense. GG. Next up, we see a Bastiodon lead, which is just absolutely amazing for Buzzwole. In comes Frostlass, and I bring in my Registeel. I think I should have done more counters there before switching out. Because I know one Zap Cannon doesn't kill, I need some chip on this Frostlass in order to Zap Cannon and farm it down. But I only did like 2 counters, which means the Zap Cannon won't even come close. But I might be able to farm it down before 2 moves at least, which would be very nice. In comes a Shadow Ball now. I know I can survive it after the buff. Can I lock on it down though before the next move? Barely. Can't. If I just did one more counter before switching out my Buzzwole, I would have been fine here. But now I have to use a shield. Still not that big of a deal though, because I do have a full move loaded with my Registeel. I'm gonna wait to see what comes in. In comes a Trevenant, so I Zap Cannon, but they sacrifice their Bastiodon to catch it. Very good catch there. I bring out my Buzzwole. They're now debuffed, so I can easily farm it down, or so I thought. Look at these smackdowns doing damage still with my Buzzwole. And I'm gonna let go of the Flamethrower, really hoping this doesn't kill, and it barely doesn't. I'm only barely able to knock it out though. I know it's Trevenant in the back, so I'm just gonna go for the lunge. Hopefully I can get to 2 and this Shadow Claw doesn't knock me out. Barely doesn't knock me out, so I get to the lunge here. This should do a decent chunk if they decide to no shield, but they do decide to shield. And now this debuffed Trevenant is just no problem for my Walrein. I get to the Icicle Spear here. This doesn't knock out, but I should be able to farm it down afterwards. Yes, that is a GG after this. Seed Bomb comes through. Oh, Shadow Ball, but still should do nothing. That is over. Alright, Metacham lead. This is definitely a problem for this squad, but Buzzwole can still make this match quite close. And if after I've lunged a couple times, I might try to catch a Psychic on my Walrein. Since then, it won't do that much damage there anyway. Go for one lunge. They throw a move here. This could be a Psychic, since they've thrown more than 8 counters, so I shield up, but there's an Ice Punch bait, which isn't great. I throw on the CMP tie here, which might be a little mistake. I think I should have maybe lunged before this move, and then try to catch a Psychic on Walrein. But that would have been quite risky as well, so instead we CMP tie, I just shield this up, and now I'll try to catch the next move on Walrein, but they actually decide to try to catch the lunge on their Lickitung, which is fine with me. I'll just throw a couple more counters and lunge again, which they do shield up, expecting the superpower. I switch out with a superpower loaded into my Registeel, because I should be able to Zap Cannon the Lickitung and farm it down all the way. Besides that, I'm kind of expecting maybe a Walrein in the back, maybe a Bastiodon in the back, or maybe a Registeel or Galarian Stunfisk in the back, all of which that superpower would come very handy against. I Zap Cannon the Lickitung here, because after this Zap Cannon, I should be able to just farm all the way down. Volley Slams do nothing. Licks aren't really doing anything, since they are double the buff, but probably only doing like 1 damage a piece. And yeah, they kind of have to switch out, or I get to, well, I'm already at 100 energy. Doesn't really matter. They're bringing a Metacham here. I'm just going to Focus Blast this. It does kind of hurt to use this much energy on such a low HP Pokemon, but I think I had to do it. If I switch in Buzzwole, they're going to Ice Punch and kill me. If I switch in Walrein, a Psychic plus counters will do a lot of damage. Alright, it doesn't end up being any of the Pokemon I thought it would be. It's a Zoomeril, which means the energy on my Buzzwole isn't very useful, but luckily I have a Registeel and a Walrein left, which should be able to take care of this Zoomeril, and then the Lickitung basically has nothing left, and I even have a superpower left for the Lickitung potentially. Anyway, now that this game is almost over, let's talk about the elephant in the room, alright? Buzzwole's exclusivity. Really the only way to get a Buzzwole right now, or actually the only way to get a Buzzwole right now, is if you went to Go Fast Seattle. I assume that it's gonna change. I assume that we will get Buzzwole in raids one day, which will make it accessible to everyone. But a Buzzwole from a raid will never fit in the Great League. The only way to get a Buzzwole for Great League is through research. Or from trading someone that has got it from research. Since it has to be like level 16.5 or below, and all like raid bosses are level 20, right? So yeah, that's a bit of a problem, right? That is a bit of a problem. I don't think it is that amazing in Open Great League. I think it's fine if it stays a little exclusive in Open Great League. But for like limited metas, it's gonna be insane. Like we got the Fighting Cup coming on. Buzzwole is gonna be insane there. It is a huge advantage if you have it. For like the official Play Pokemon Championships, I don't think it's gonna make a huge impact. But it will have a little impact. Which inherently just makes it unfair that only a very small percentage of players have access to it, right? So I really hope that everyone will get access to this Pokemon in the future through a research so that everyone can enjoy a Great League Buzzwole. Otherwise, it will just be a little unfair. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. See you guys in the next one. Good luck to your battle stream.